Another week is in the books and sadly more brutal season-ending injuries. But in the Dynasty streets, it's time to pivot, move forward, and time to make some trades. I'm going to highlight 5 players you either need to be buying or selling, but you should certainly be moving in your Dynasty leagues right now. We're going to kick it off at the top. Ja'Tavion Sanders. Now, he was one of my favourite rookie tight ends this season. He fell a little bit in the draft. He had some questionable combine scores, should we say. The RAS metric wasn't his favourite. But after a relatively slow start, weeks 2 to week 4, weeks 5, week 6, week 7, Ja'Tavion Sanders is starting to produce. He's been over 70% group participation each of those 3 weeks. That is a season high. He's been over 5 targets in each of those 3 weeks, having never cleared 5 targets before that. The Carolina Panthers are looking for long-term building blocks. This roster is absolutely barren. Ja'Tavion Sanders is showing up that he can be one of those. In a position in fantasy that is absolutely decimated, who knows who's going to be the next stud tight end? I'm really liking what I'm seeing from Ja'Tavion Sanders. I think you can go and buy him for a mid to late second right now. I think you need to act quickly because over the next couple of weeks, there's not exactly a bevy of great receiving options in Carolina, particularly if Deontay Johnson's going to get traded. So I think Ja'Tavion Sanders could be a really nice asset for future years, but potentially this year as we head down the stretch. Time to get negative though. Jalen Hurts. Now, you're probably looking at this thinking Jalen Hurts had another good week. He scored over 20 fantasy points. He had another push for a touchdown. But to me, it's the struggles between the numbers. Yes, okay, he's phenomenal around the goal line. We know he's got that obscene volume of rushing touchdowns. He had a nice couple of runs. He looked more agile than I thought he's looked for a little while. He had some really nice deep shots outside the numbers, particularly to AJ Brown. But to me, the reason he is a sell is there is no improvement from him as a pure pocket passer. And I think this is where quarterbacks that are these dual threats need to really elevate as they start to get older, as their rushing production is going to drop down. They need to be able to improve as a pocket passer and continue to, I guess, be as efficient as they have been without that rushing production behind them. And sadly, I just don't see that for Jalen Hurts. You look at someone like Lamar, he's still rushing incredibly, but he is so good from the pocket that I've got no concerns about him turning into a non-starter in the league without that rushing production. Jalen Hurts, I've got real concerns. He's outside the top 25 in PFF passing grade. I just don't see him sitting in the pocket, progressing through reads and making those throws. And we've seen with plenty of rushing quarterbacks in the past few years, you think of someone like Cam Newton, you think of someone like Justin Fields, Russell Wilson over the last couple of years. When it goes quick. And I just think that this may be the time to potentially think about getting out from Jalen Hurts. I had a conversation with someone in our Discord today about whether they could pivot from Jalen Hurts to Joe Burrow straight up. Love that move. If you can get, I'm saying roughly 3 firsts equivalent, if you can pivot to any of the other kind of top 5, 6 quarterbacks, that's absolutely a move I'm doing. I just don't like what I see from Jalen Hurts as a passer. But time to be more positive. Jameis Winston is back in our lives. This is so much fun for fantasy. This is so much fun for the NFL. I'm all for Jameis Winston. We know he's going to take risks. We know he's going to push the ball downfield. DTR sounds like he might get kind of the opportunity to start, but it sounds like he's probably going to be out for at least 1, if not 2 weeks. Look, Jameis Winston is a sneaky buy. If you're a contender, if you want a QB3, maybe even a QB4, I'd go and float it out for Jameis Winston. We know what Joe Flacco did in this offense. We know some of the seasons that Jameis Winston has. I love going and grabbing him for potentially a late second, but also throwing there, I really like Cedric Tillman as a buy this week as well. I think he's was number 2 in the team in terms of snap rate, routes run. I think he profiles as that big body outside X receiver that we know James likes to push the ball to. So yeah, really excited about what this Browns offense could be. And yeah, it's taken 7 weeks, but who thought excitement in Cleveland? Before we move on to the final 2 buys and sells though, if you haven't hit that subscribe button, what are you doing? You're missing out. We give you every single thing you need to be winning your leagues in fantasy this year. We get waivers on Tuesday, you get buy sell on a Wednesday, you get the preview show breaking down every single game in this week's slate on a Thursday, and then of course we've got start sits on a Sunday as well. The final 2, we're going to double dip in Tampa Bay. The first is negative, a sell. Cade Otton. Now, people who have known me, people who have joined our Discord community, people who have followed my work over the past 2 years know that I am not a fan of Cade Otton. He plays a huge amount of snaps, he runs a huge amount of routes, but he just doesn't command the target share. Now, in Tampa, we've obviously seen the horrendous Chris Godwin injury. We know Mike Evans is going to be out at least 3 weeks. Someone's got to step up. Well, on Sunday, it was Cade Otton. He saw double-digit targets. He had a really good fantasy day. I'm not buying that this is Cade Otton suddenly turning it around and suddenly going to start commanding target volume. I would really take this opportunity to sell high on Cade Otton. If you can get any second-round pick, I would absolutely do that in a second. People are clamoring for any sort of reasonable tight end, and I think you can take this opportunity to finally get Cade Otton off your roster, because I do not see him being a plug-and-play reliable starter anytime soon. Yeah, he might have a couple of boom weeks, but he's going to be doing it on someone else's roster because I don't believe in him long-term. Someone I do believe in long-term in Tampa, though, Jalen McMillan. Huge fan of this guy as a prospect. Thought he was beginning to flash at the beginning of the year before the injury kind of curtailed that. But Chris Godwin gone, Mike Evans injured. Jalen McMillan can step into this offense as the clear number one receiver in terms of target volume, in terms of routes run. And the most exciting thing is, I wonder if there's a potential that he could slide into the Chris Godwin role. We saw him do it a huge amount in college. That big-bodied power slot that Chris Godwin has absolutely feasted so far this year in fantasy. That could be Jalen McMillan's goldmine. And we know that Baker is playing some really good ball now. I love going out and buying Jalen McMillan. I would potentially pay a late first. I don't think you have to pay a late first for him right now, but if you can get him for a second, I think that's an absolutely fantastic deal. It may feel like buying high off the hype that Godwin and Evans are gone, and someone you may feel like you're having to pay up a bit, but rest assured, in a couple of weeks, I think you're going to be sitting very, very pretty with Jalen McMillan on your rosters. Do you disagree with any of these 5? Is there somebody I missed? Let me know in the comments below. I love to hear your thoughts on who you disagree with and who you want to be buying this week.